The window had always been there, but Sakura had never truly looked through it. Every morning for 3 years, the traveler sat at the same corner desk in the same cluttered apartment, opened the same spreadsheets, and drank the same lukewarm coffee while the city outside moved without her. The window was just glass. Just light. Just the world continuing on its indifferent way. But on a Tuesday that smelled like rain and old paper, something changed. Sakura reached for her coffee mug and knocked it sideways. Sending a dark river across her keyboard, she jumped back, cursing softly, grabbing a cloth, and in the frantic motion of cleaning, she looked up, really looked. A woman across the narrow alley was painting on a massive canvas, arms sweeping in wide, fearless arcs. The painting was chaotic and gorgeous. The woman was laughing to herself. Sakura sat very still for a long moment. She had not laughed to herself in a very long time. The next morning she looked again. The painter was there, layering deep blues over burnt orange. The morning after that, still there, this time dancing slightly, while mixing colors on a palette so crowded it looked like a small, glorious catastrophe. Sakura began shifting her desk chair a few inches toward the window. Then a few more, until she caught herself pausing mid-email just to watch. She told herself it was harmless, a distraction, a break from the numbers and deadlines that had slowly become the entire grammar of her days. But then the painter looked up and saw her. Sakura nearly fell off her chair. She raised a hand in a small, mortified wave. The painter grinned broadly, pointed at Sakura, then pointed down at the street, then held up 5 fingers. 5 minutes. Sakura did not go down. She sat frozen, heart hammering as though she had been caught doing something private. She told herself the whole exchange had been ambiguous, that maybe the painter was waving at someone else, that going downstairs would be strange and presumptuous. She stayed at her desk. She answered her emails. She did not laugh to herself. The painter's light was off that evening, and the dark window felt like a judgment. A week passed. Sakura watched but stayed away from the glass now, peering from the edge as if distance made her invisible. The painter worked with a friend sometimes, a tall person with close-cropped hair who brought takeout containers and sat on the windowsill eating noodles with extravagant slurping that Sakura could nearly hear through the glass. They both seemed absurdly, effortlessly alive. Sakura opened a new spreadsheet. She closed it without typing a single cell. She pulled open her desk drawer and found, beneath a tangle of charging cables and forgotten pens, a small sketchbook she had bought 2 years ago with absolute conviction, and opened exactly once. The single page she had used held a timid pencil sketch of her own hand. She had judged it terrible and stopped. She carried the sketchbook to the window. She did not draw anything. She just held it and watched the painter work and felt something she could not immediately name. It was not quite envy, though it had envy's sharp edge. It was not quite longing, though it pulled in the same deep way. It was the sensation of recognizing something she had misplaced so long ago she had stopped noticing the absence. She went downstairs. The alley was cold and smelled of wet brick. Sakura stood outside the painter's building, feeling profoundly ridiculous. But she pressed the buzzer before she could argue herself back to the elevator. The painter's name was Mira, and she opened the door with paint on her forearm and zero surprise on her face. "I thought you weren't coming," Mira said. "That was a week ago." "I know," Sakura said. "I'm sorry." Mira shrugged and stepped back from the door. "Come see what I'm working on." The studio was nothing like the ordered life Sakura had constructed for herself. Canvases leaned in overlapping rows. The floor was a palimpsest of old spills. A massive, half-finished piece dominated the far wall, and up close it resolved into something almost unbearably beautiful. A cityscape seen from above and below simultaneously. Rooftops and subway tunnels layered through each other like a dream arguing with itself. "I watch you work sometimes," Sakura admitted, because the room made honesty feel possible. "I know," Mira said. "You look like someone watching a movie they used to love." That was the thing Sakura had not been able to name. She stood in front of the painting and felt it move through her like a key turning. "I used to draw," she said. "I was never good." "Good as a destination," Mira said. Most people use it as an excuse not to start the journey. Sakura opened her mouth to defend herself and then closed it again, because the defense was exactly what Mira had just described. She went home and opened the sketchbook. She drew her coffee mug. It looked wrong, lopsided, the handle too thin. She drew it again, still wrong, but differently wrong, which felt like progress. She drew the window frame and the slice of alley visible from her desk. She drew the vague shape of Mira's canvas across the way, a pale rectangle filled with suggestion. She drew badly for an hour and felt more like herself than she had in 3 years. This became the new grammar of her mornings. Spreadsheets, yes, because rent was real and deadlines did not negotiate. But before the spreadsheets, 30 minutes with the sketchbook. The window open if the weather allowed. The sounds of the city mixing with the scratch of pencil on paper. She and Mira had coffee twice, then dinner once, then fell into the comfortable, irregular rhythm of people who understand each other without needing to explain too much. One morning, Sakura was sketching the view from her window when she noticed a person in an apartment above Mira's. A figure sitting motionless at a desk, coffee cup in hand, staring down at the street with an expression Sakura recognized at a cellular level. She thought about leaving it alone. She thought about how it was none of her business. She thought about a buzzer she had almost not pressed. She opened her window, leaned out, and waved. The figure above looked startled, then uncertain, then slowly raised a hand in return. Sakura held up 5 fingers. She went downstairs, because a window is only ever glass until you decide what it means, until you choose to look not just at the world outside, but at the distance you have placed between yourself and it. The journey from the desk to the door is sometimes the longest one a person takes, and the only tool required is the willingness to believe that what waits on the other side of the glass is worth the cold air of the alley. Sakura knew that now. She carried it like a sketchbook. She carried it like a key.